Om Yo Brahmanam Vidadhati Purvam Yo Vai Vedanscha Prahinoti Tasmai Tamha Devamatma Buddhi Prakasham Mumukshirvai Sharanamam Prapatye. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Namo Brahmadibhyo Brahma Vidya Sampradaya Kartribhyo Vanshashibhyo Mahadbhyo Namo Gurubhya Sarvopaplavarahitaha Prajnanaganaha Pratyagartho Brahmaivahamasmi Brahmaivahamasmi. Om Vedantarth Vibhasakaya Gurave Shantaya Sannyasine Nanavadi Nagendra Sangha Pavaye Yogindra Vandyaya Cha Mohadvanta Divakaraya Bhagavad Pada Vidham Bibhrate Tasmai Bhashyakrite Namostu Satatam Purnaya Bodhatmane. Om. So far, the introduction which has been given by Sri Madhusudana Saraswati, we have seen few points, and if enumerated, it would be Gitayaha Vedatmakatvam. The first thing is that this Gita, Bhagavad Gita, the divine song, is Vedatmaka. Vedatmaka means is of the very nature of Vedas. By saying it is of the nature of Veda, we get a fair idea that Vedas being the Pramana, Vedas being the Dharma Brahm Pratipadaka, which means it is that Pramana, it is that means of knowledge through which what is Dharma and what is Brahma is known, without which neither Dharma nor Brahma can be known. And therefore, this is also the subject matter of Bhagavad Gita. And hence, so Bhagavad Gita reflects, echoes exactly what the Vedas have to deliver. Anuj, I think you'll have to switch that fan on there. Bhagavad Gita delivers the same thing which the Vedas have to deliver. In fact, it is a fair reflection of Bhagavad Gita, of the Vedas. Vedasya kandatrayatmakatvat Gitayaha hi kandatrayatmakatvam. Now the Vedas, we have seen, can easily be categorized. The subject matter of the Vedas can be categorized under these three headings. And therefore, it becomes the very, sections of the Vedas can be Karma Kanda, Upasana Kanda, and Jnana Kanda. The section dealing with Karma, the section dealing with Upasana, and the section dealing with Jnanam, knowledge. So also in Bhagavad Gita, we can see these three sections. And what do we mean by these three sections? Depending upon the very subject matter which is principally dealt, it's okay, he will sit, which is principally dealt. We have the Gita also, all the 18 chapters in these three hexads. So every hexad is a collection of these chapters in sequence. So from chapter 1 to chapter 6 is one section. Chapter 7 to chapter 12, this is the second hexad. And the final one, 13 to 18, is the third hexad. Now, over here, Gita also in these three sections is principally the subject matter. In the first hexad would be karma, in the second would be upasana, and the third is jnanam, knowledge. Then it is through this path of karma, tvam pada is illumined. What is brought to our understanding finally, even through the science of karma, is the meaning of word you. Tvam. Pada means the word. Padartha is the object which is illumined by the word. So the word and the object, they have an inherent relationship. And what is that relationship? That the word has the capacity to illumine the object. So this is how it does the job. So what is shown over here through the path of karma? Tvam pada. Then through the upasana, we come to get introduced to know what is the meaning of word Ishvara. Tat. When we say Ishvara, Paramatma, what exactly does it mean? What is that Brahmavastu? And that is brought to us through this second hexad. And the final one is what shows the Jiva Brahma Aikyam. Okay, so Asipada, the final word of the sentence, Tattvamasi, is Tat, Tvam, and Asi. Asi is the third word. And there the Asi is given to us through this last hexad. Oneness of Atma and Brahman is shown to us. How does that happen? So here, Nishkama Karmanushthanena Tvam Padasya Shodhanam. Now, presently we have certain understanding about the word Tvam. What this, when the speaker says you, the word is you. The understanding which arises in the listener is I. So both of the word you spoken by the speaker and the word I understood, cognized by the listener over here have this is the same object. Is the same object. Then the word is heard by you, and also to certain extent it is understood by you. In that understanding is the problem. And what is it? That this word I is confused with something that is not I. Okay? It is confused with something that is not I. And therefore, now this fellow is going to do drama. I think he needs to go out. Just let him. Go. Open it fully. So we have when spoken you, it brings the idea, I am a man, I am a woman, I am happy, I am sad, I am hungry, I am thirsty, I am I'm feeling full, so on and so forth. I'm old, I'm young, I'm healthy, I'm sick, with several things. Now, over there, in this being the central thing, with our understanding of what this I is, it is definitely a confused understanding. When you when the understanding is confused, it is no longer knowledge. Distorted knowledge is not knowledge. Distorted knowledge means knowing an object as the object is. And if in case you know the object not as the object is, but as something else, it is an error. So erroneous knowledge is also not a knowledge, it is an error. Erroneous knowledge is not knowledge, but it is an error. Brahmajnanam, though we may say it is Brahmajnanam, but it is not Jnanam, it is Brahma only. We have to say Jnanam. Why we say that is also a different thing that we people will deal with when we are going to study Tattvanusandhanam, etc. So now what happens is that there is this confusion. The self that I am is confused with something that I am not. And when this very understanding is held fast as your knowledge, as one's wisdom, now one is definitely not going to strive for knowledge. But for luckily, we have heard the Upanishad say, Atma is Brahman, you are Brahman. And so now there is a question, am I this body? Am I this doer and the experiencer, this small little individual, or is this I Brahman? Now therefore, now we have to verify. We have a job of verification. And what are we going to verify? That is this I truly this body-mind complex? Is the meaning of word I just this individual who claims to be the experiencer, who claims to be the doer, and by that virtue he is an experiencer? He claims, I experience misery and I experience happiness. I'm sad and I'm happy. I'm excited and I'm depressed. I am in despair, or I'm feeling enthusiastic. There can be several things. But what is this? When are you going to say this? When this claim is I am an experiencer. So also by the virtue that I am an experiencer, I want to enhance my happiness, I want to reduce my dukkham. And therefore I do certain things, I make arrangements, I try to make arrangements around me whereby my experiencership will be refined. So what do we mean? That there is an experience, more experience of peace and happiness, and less of sadness and despair. So thus I am an experiencer, I am a doer, I am a small little individual struggling and striving in this world is what I constantly claim myself to be. Then by the path of Nishkama Karmanushtana, which means by the way of doing the karma as prescribed by the Vedas, with an attitude, what is that attitude? The attitude of Nishkamatvam. We will see that later, but you keep this word with you. Nishkamatvam. Kama means desire, and Nishkama means desireless. When the action is bereft, what do you mean by the action being bereft of desire, etc.? Later on. But just understand this principle first. And the principle is that Nishkama Karma will create a mind which is now capable of understanding without distorting the knowledge. And therefore, Nishkama Karmanushthanena Tvam Padasya Shodhanam. Then through bhakti, through devotion, through upasana, one comes to realize the meaning of God. Okay? This word is commonly used. Everybody says it, but even every exclamation that we have, that exclamation is, oh my God, and so that exclamation mark. So God word is commonly used and everybody uses it left, right, and center. When the words are used without really knowing its meaning, then it is only a noise. Like that, bhaktya, through this path of devotion, now one comes to appreciate and understand the meaning of what Ishvara is. So the second section, the second hexad, now becomes fruitful. And finally, Jnanena tayoho aikyam sampaditaha sthapitaha. And then finally, we not only come to a clear understanding about what this I is, what this Ishvara is, but we come to understand that this I, the self, is not different, not anything else other than Ishvara himself. Knowing, which means knowing oneself as complete, as Purnam, and that is what one is constantly striving for. What are we striving for? Please do not say that I'm striving to earn more money, I want to have more cars, I can have more children, I want to have more popularity, whatever. But all this is being done so that I can be fulfilled. So what is it that you really want? That I want this fulfillment, I want this completeness, I want to be complete. Any form of incompleteness now is misery. I have money, but it is not sufficient. I am popular, but it is not sufficient. I am being respected, but that is not sufficient. And that not being sufficient, not being adequate, is dukkham. This sense of inadequacy, the sense of incompleteness, the sense of unfulfillment is what we all call as dukkham. And this is what one wants to get rid of. How does Bhagavad Gita and the Upanishad shows you? In already knowing that Atma is Purnam. And how did you arrive at that understanding? Through this entire process. And because this process, the system is given to us by the Upanishad, and thus the same system is brought to us by Bhagavad Gita, to every person, to his threshold, to his doorstep. Now Bhagavad Gita, he is looked upon as the mother who gives this Advaita Amritam. Now, few more things over here to go with. Kshina doshe tatashchitte vakya tattvam avirbhavet sakshatkaro nirvikalpaha shabdadeva prajayate. Now, what happens? Kshina doshe, when the defects, what are called as defects? Anything that is going to prevent you from reaching your destination, desired destination, is called as a defect. It is an obstacle. These doshas, they are obstacles, and that's why they are doshas. But when these obstacles now no longer become an impediment, when though they may be there, when they are not able to stop you from reaching, achieving, attaining what one wants to attain, then it is not an obstacle. Okay, you're walking on the road and there is a small little ditch with all this muddy water in it. But if you are able to step over it, not in it, now it is no longer an obstacle. because you were easily able to overcome it. So also there may be certain obstacles in the path for moksha. But if these doshas have become so feeble, so weak, so bleak, that they do not prevent the person from seeing this Atma is Purnam. So Kshina dosha, when these doshas have become Kshina, Kshina means they are weakened. Weakened in the sense they no longer become Pratibandhas, they do not become obstacles which will prevent one from seeing the light of truth. Kshina doshe tatashchitte, thus that mind now which is free from all these defects. What happens to this in this mind now? Now such a mind, in that mind, tattvam avirbhave, that principle, the truth, he becomes manifest. Avirbhave. The truth, tattva means the reality, not what is imagined to be real. Because what is imagined to be, what is said to be real presently by us, he is my friend and she is my enemy and he is my enemy. All these realities will are what they are transitory, which means the person that you are calling as a friend now, tomorrow we will not even hesitate to call the same person as an enemy. And this is not only with your friends that they will call you enemy, they will like you one day, the next day they will, you also do the same thing. So and real, that what is real, that what is true does not change with time. That which keeps on changing cannot be called as something real, as true. So now we have Tattvam Avirbhave. What is Tattvam? The reality, that truth. So, and it is also called as Paramatma. Now, Avirbhave, thus in that very mind, Paramatma manifests. Manifests. Some people have constantly asking, Swamiji, now this is Kali Yuga, and look at the people, and the number of sinners have gone up, as if these people were keeping a register. And then, why God is yet not taking an incarnation? Why is Bhagwan not arriving yet? Has Bhagwan forgotten that he has promised Sambhavami Yuge Yuge? These are the people who are going to remind God that, this is your job, please do it well. Then to those people we have to tell, where is it that God manifests? Kshina doshe tatashchitte. Tataha, then after, in that mind, in that place where the doshas, these defects, etc., are washed away, have gone, are eradicated over there, and that's why it requires Devaki and Vasudeva for Shri Krishna to manifest. It requires Kausalya and Dashratha for Lord to manifest. Just because there are many Ravanas are there, that's why Bhagwan should arrive, is not the logic. Then Bhagwan will arrive. But where is Dashrath and Kausalya? Where is Devaki Vasudeva? Just because number of these people have gone up, that's why Bhagwan should arrive. Then you become Devaki Vasudeva, you become Kausalya, Dashratha. Let us see how well are you able to abide by truth. Once a promise is given, no matter, even if it will cost me my life. That is the reason why Dashratha has given that promise to Kaikeyi. He does not go back. He says that, come on, I will ignore you. Such logic does not come to Dashratha. I have promised, it is promised. Now, even if it means to saying goodbye to the world. And that is the reason why though Sri Rama is so dear to him, he, he, and he does not want Rama to go into exile. Yet promise. That is why Goswamiji's that one line from Ramayana is so famous, Prana Jaya Parvachan Jaya. The pranas may depart, may go, but a promise will never go vain. Once a word is given, it will be kept. Where is that Dashratha? Where is this? Anyway, so what we have to understand that, because even the word Devaki or Kausalya, if you understand, because these are just not their names, but they have meaning to it. These names also have meaning. Devaki is Sarvadevamayi. And Kausalya means Kushala, the one who is extremely, what do they call? Dexterous. Dexterity is there. And the dexterity in action and emotion is what you have to find out. What is it? So very refined. Shina doshe thus, with that purification, Tattvam avirved, reality, the Paramatma manifests. So now there is one more thing that we have to notice over here. Vakyat avirved. How is it? How is it that Paramatma manifests in that mind? Vakyat, Panchamyanta. It means through this statement. Which statement is that? Tattvamasi. Through this statement, in that mind, now Paramatma manifests. So God realization, and God realization, what? No, we will go into Himalayas and we will search in some caves for God realization. All that you have to do is to try to eradicate the various defects in life. And then after, go to the Tattvajnani and listen to that statement of Tattvamasi. That is the only way to make Paramatma manifest in your heart. He says, Sakshatkaro nirvikalpaha shabdadeva upajayate. Now, Vakyat Tattvam Avirbhavet. What was said in the first half of that shloka? Vakyat Tattvam Avirbhavet and Kshina Doshe Chitte. In that Chitta means you understand now. Even those who are, the students of yoga also will understand. The word Chitta over here means in the mind. How is the mind? Kshina Dosha, where the defects, etc., have become so feeble, so weak, subdued, that it can collapse, or it has collapsed. It is eradicated. Eradicated. All the defects are eradicated. Then, in that chitta, in such mind, when the vakyam, when the sentence is spoken by the teacher, that very moment, the reality manifests, becomes available. Tattvam avirbhavet. This Vakyat Tattvam Avirbhavet, this part of the sentence is further explained, though not in details, but Madhusudana Saraswati makes the arrangement of the words in the later half of the shloka so that the earlier part is explained. So this is kind of a little commentary over it, applause. Sakshatkaro nirvikalpaha. Sakshatkar. Now, a lot of people all over. They keep using the words realization, enlightenment, have a liberation, so on and so forth. I said, what do you mean by that realization? What exactly do you mean by enlightenment? Don't ask. Enlightenment. What is realization? Don't ask. It is very mystical. Now, by saying something is mystical, nothing really happens. When you say something is mystical, it only means either you cannot understand or I cannot explain. Now, out of these two, what is easier? It is easier to say that you can't understand because you're incapable. And then after saying, well, it is mystical, which means you can never understand, which means what? In other words, that you will always remain foolish. It is guaranteed. So this is all just useless thing. Anyway, sakshatkaraha. Sakshatkara over here means knowing it directly. Sakshatkara means knowing directly. It is not inferential. It is not some belief that, oh, well, I believe and I will know God later on. After I die, I will go to the heaven, and then after I will find out God and then talk to him. Directly. Sakshatkara means knowing directly. Aparoksha jnanam. What is sakshatkara? Aparoksha jnanam. You know, just giving you an example to make the understanding of that word technically little sound. You know fire. Everybody knows fire. Okay, and you have direct knowledge of fire. This is fire. But when you say, I can see the smoke rising from the mountain, and therefore I know there is fire in the mountain. Over here, are you seeing the fire? Is the knowledge there is fire in the mountain direct or indirect? Is it direct or indirect? Indirect. Because you know the smoke. But because there is smoke, now you can draw the inference that there must be fire. Because yatra yatra dhumaha tatra tatra, what? Wherever there is smoke, there is fire. It is not the other way around. Wherever there is fire, there is smoke, because you have fire even without smoke. But wherever there is smoke, there is bound to be fire. What have you seen now? Only the smoke. And therefore you infer. But are you able to feel the heat on the skin? Or are you able to see the bright flames of the fire? No, nothing. Because you're 10 miles away from the mountain. You can see only the smoke rising. And therefore now there is knowledge that there is fire in the mountain. But how is it? Not direct. It is indirect knowledge of the fire. There is indirect knowledge of the fire. Are you talking about knowing God as some sort of inference or only a belief? Asti kashchit paramatma. Asti kashchit. There is Paramatma, there is God, some God is there. Then that becomes only a part of your belief system. It can give you a certain consolation, but we are not looking for consolation. Over here, what is the very purpose of knowing Paramatma? Dukkhasya atyantika nivritti. Consolation is not atyantika nivritti. It is some sort of a respite. Don't worry, okay? Next year you will to study hard and score more marks. Consolation. So now this person is not totally disheartened. He is not totally disappointed. Don't worry. In life you will get more opportunities. So what? Then when you marry again, that time you don't fight with your wife. Consolation. Now next time you don't fight. Now you have fought and she's gone. Now what to do? Next time you get married, don't fight. Consolation is that this is God. This is not consolation in knowing Paramatma. We are not saying that it is a consolation. What are we saying? Dukkhasya atyantika nivritti. It eliminates it. It eliminates dukkham. How? Completely, atyantika, absolute, uncompromisingly, without even leaving a trace, even the memory of that sadness. Gone. And for which we want to now know what this Parameshwara is. But how will that knowledge be there? How will that sakshatkar be there? Not by just simply having a belief. Have strong belief. A strong belief is okay. Strong-headed people. Nothing else. Now somebody has a belief, or I have a belief. You are my enemy. Now this is my strong belief. What? Belief is okay. It has its own role to play. But the whole spiritual exercise does not end only in creating belief systems. We are over here dealing with knowledge. Okay, so aparok sakshatkaro nirvikalpaha. And how is this knowledge? How is this direct knowledge? Nirvikalpam. So it is a nirvikalpaha is what? It is an adjective to sakshatkara. Sakshatkara is knowledge, aparoksha jnanam. But this aparoksha jnanam is also nirvikalpaka. Nirvikalpaka. Now around this nirvikalpaka also there is a lot of haze around that word. Oh, nirvikalpa samadhi, nirvikalpa. Baba nirvikalpaka jnanam. It means, you can write it down. Those who are jotting it down, I will write definitions. It means samsarga anavaga jnana. Samsarga anavaga. What is samsarga? When you are going to say between, there is always going to be some sort of relationship between the two objects. Okay? So this relationship is now, we are technically going to say, is samsarga. Okay? Between the Vishesha and Visheshana, there is a samsarga. Okay? There is a samsarga. That knowledge which illumines just the nature of the object. It illumines the very nature of the object. Swarupa jnana, vastu swarupa matra grahakam jnana. That knowledge which illumines only the very nature of the object is nirvikalpakam. And therefore, That knowledge about Paramatma is directly known. But that knowledge is also nirvikalpakam. Okay. Shabdadeva jayate. And how does that knowledge also? Because over here, knowledge and experience are not bifurcated. Generally, what do we hear? Ah, you have knowledge, you don't have experience. And therefore, now you don't need knowledge. What do you need? Experience. And even if you don't have knowledge, it is okay. But you should have experience, which means don't have knowledge. Stay foolish, stay ignorant, but have experiences. Hey, experiences are there. There is no dearth of experience. What we lack is wisdom, knowledge. And just because it is something is experienced does not mean it is a fact. A person who sees the snake on the rope, he experiences the snake. Just because you are experiencing the snake, does that make it real? It is in a room one enters and suddenly he sees, oh my God, what is that? Is it a snake? It must be a snake. And he sees a snake. It is hissing at me and also calling me close so that it can bite me. Come here, come here. You know. Now he sees all that, and now this fellow is already, his heart is about to, come out, pop out of his mouth. It is beating that fast. The mouth is parched. Then it is good that it gets parched because no lubrication, it cannot come out. So nice, keep beating. And he's already sweating buckets. Then he sees the snake and he comes out and he tells his friend, I have experienced the snake. There is a snake in that room. So both of them go. And this fellow knows where the switch in the room is. He switches the light on and then they discover it is a rope. Now you tell me the earlier experience of the person that it is a snake. Since the snake was experienced, does it become real? Then what was that snake that he was experiencing? Was it not an error? And now when they are able to, there is adequate light in the room, when the eyes are able to operate properly and are able to establish the contact with the object, what is it? Knowledge. And over here, what are you saying? Now, this knowledge is your experience. So knowledge which is free from samshaya and viparyaya, knowledge which is free from the defects of doubts and errors is called as experience. What is an experience? It is basically knowledge. And what are the other, you hear people giving that wisdom? Oh, you don't need knowledge, you need experience. Baba, from where do they bring such old things and they are not even afraid of saying something like that? And they alone know that it requires a lot of courage to be foolish also. Now, so sakshat, that knowledge is there. And how does it come? Shabdad eva upajayate. Knowing this Parameshwara directly over here, no other things, not going to the heaven, not going into a trance, not even going into any trance, etc. This trance people also have a lot of funny things, but anyway, it was not time to discuss that. Shabdad eva upajayate is born this knowledge, which is direct knowledge. A. B. It is nirvikalpa. And about what? About Paramatma. What happens to this knowledge now? This knowledge is born from the Shabda, from the words. And therefore, listening to the words of the Tattvajnani is important. When Sri Krishna, Arjuna asks Sri Krishna that, please tell me, how will we know you? You in the sense Paramatma. How? Shri Krishna does not say, look here, I'm standing in front of you, you are directly seeing me, I am that boy from Vrindavan, and then I used to play the flutes, and now only I am driving your chariot. I am the same. No, nothing. Shri Krishna does not go about giving all these things. Shri Krishna says over there, Tat Vidhi Pranipatena, know that. Know what? Know that. How is this to be known? Know that Tat Vidhi Pranipatena Pariprashnena Sevaya Upadekshanti Te Jnanam Jnaninas Tattvadarshinaha. Approach the teacher in humility. So going to the teacher is not obliging the teacher. If one says that, I'm helping the teacher, I am doing his seva, I am obliging the teacher, then that is not humility. Then this is not an upakari sadhanam for tattvajnana to take place. In humility, tadvidhi pranipatena. So the first condition is pranipata. Pranipata means namaskar. Okay, that namaskar means giving up of vanity, of egoism. And then pranipatena, tadvidhi pranipatena, pariprashnena sevaya, by asking appropriate questions. Appropriate questions are not, oh teacher, oh great sage, what is your age? I am sitting in this meditation for last 76 years, my child. How did you know so many years ago? You have a calendar which is there. Somebody keeps changing in your cave. All these things. Oh, I have special powers to know the calendar. Oh, you're sitting in meditation to count days, or you're sitting in meditation to know Paramatma for what? Don't question like this. Asking appropriate questions. And what is appropriate question? The question about what is Brahman? Adhi Bhagavo Brahmeti. O sir, hey Bhagavan, what is Paramatma? Please tell me, because in knowing Brahman, the ultimate pursuit is fulfilled. Okay? The pursuit for moksha is fulfilled. So pranipatena tadvidhi. But by going, and how does that also happen? He does through some, the powers that he sends through his hands and all that. He opens the fist, and then suddenly there is light in the center of that hand. Different kind of a fluorescent mainly is there. And that light knows Upadekshanti te jnanam. What is that? They will instruct, give this knowledge how? Through words. Shabdadeva upajayate. Therefore, do not underestimate this very power of the words. In fact, about the power of the words, Vachaspati Mishra says these words have a unique Shakti. The words have a Shakti, power. The words have power. What power? He says, say suppose if a person is sleeping and you call him by his name, like Anuj, and then Anuj is sleeping. Okay, that is what he does. So he's sleeping, and then you call Anuj, and he wakes up and he says, "Yes, this is." He said, "This is the strange power, because if he is sleeping, he cannot hear, and if he has heard, he was not sleeping, but he was sleeping. Then how did he hear? And if he has heard, then he must not be sleeping. But he heard, and he was also sleeping." This is the strange power of the words, that it can wake up. Shabda Upajayate, it can wake one up from the slumber of ignorance. Oh, okay. So here, Shabda Upajayate. Then, furthermore, our Madhusudana Saraswati says, now once again, just to draw a synopsis of all this, Nishkama karma anushtanam moolam mokshasya kirtitam. Mokshasya kim moolam? What is at the root? What is at the very root of this moksha, of liberation? What is there? He says, Nishkama karma anushtanam. What is it? Doing the karma, performing our duty without attaching the load, the burden of desires on it, without keeping the burden of desire on the karma. Nishka, this is an imula. If one learns to do nishkama karma, he definitely will progress on the path of moksha, on the spirit. Iti kirtitam. This is being sung by whom? By the sages, Munibhi kirtitam. But though one knows this, yet there will be something that is going to stop you on the way and make you put the burden of desires on the karma that one is performing. What is that? Shokadi asura papma tasya cha pratibandhakaha. Because in between sorrow, despair, frustration, shoka moha, this is the mahapapi asura. This is the asura. Asura means the demon, and very sinful demon. Who? Shoka will come over there, and he will make that Nishkam Karmanushtan turn into Sakamanushtan. Okay? Tasya cha pratibandhakaha will prevent you. You say, what Nishkam and all? Everybody look around in the world. Everybody is selfish. You also have to you have to learn to be selfish, and that is how you got it. Though these are people who are doing things selfishly, but for them, liberation is not the goal of their life. Now, what is it that you want? I want to be free from dukkha. And they also want to be free from dukkha, but ask them, they are still able to visualize sukham in killing and looting and plundering and lying. So where are they able to see dukkham in it? For them, this is not dukkham. This is for them. This is what we should do. We will do, and so we are not going to. So these people all around are not the standards for you to compare yourself. So let them do. Do not compare. So there is no point. I'm better than them. Why do you want to prove that you are better and you have progressed more in spirituality than the rest of them? And the rest of the people are all unholy. I am over here, the holy saint, come to sanctify the whole world. Now I have come to give peace. Okay? What nonsense. The Shokadi Asurappa, why compare? And then with not only comparing, then comparing and then thinking that how I will be superior to rest. That itself is going to become, the demon has really entered. So Shokadi Asurapapma. This is that Shokasura. This is that Shokasura. Like you have Mahishasura and all that. This is Shokasura. Tasya cha pratibandhakaha, kasya pratibandhakaha, nishkama karmanushthanasya pratibandhakaha. It will prevent, shackle the nishkama karma, and not allow that to happen. Yataha, and then after what happens? Yataha, once when this sorrow has really taken over, and that's why isko sehlane ka, just don't keep on nursing it. Yata swadharma vibramshaha. From there, now the person will divert from doing what he should do, what is ought to be done. When a person does not do what is ought to be done, what is the next thing? He will do what he should not do. He will do what he should not do. Yatah swadharma vidhamshaha. And then after the next part is pratishiddhasya sevanam, and therefore he will do that what is pratishiddha. That what is pratishiddha, which means what he should not do. Thus, now the life is filled with what? Avoiding what needs to be done and doing what should not be done. Now, you don't have to search for Duryodhana anywhere else. This is Duryodhana. Phaladi sandipurvava sahankara kriya bhavet. And even if a person does what he should do, diligently he does it. Yet, in even doing good things, you will see it has just developed, nourished ego more and more. Phaladi sandhi purvava sahankara kriya bhavet avishta purusho nityam evam asurapapmadhihi. Now thus that person is avishta. This evil spirit, there is an evil spirit which has possessed the person. Evam asurapapmadhihi, this sinful, the evil thing has now taken up. This is not some evil that lives elsewhere and he is directly, challenging God and he is, contender to God or anything. This whole thing is coming out of ignorance only. But only some sort of analogy is drawn. Asurapapmadhihi pumarthalabhayu labhayo yes yogyasan labhate dukkha santatim. Thus, this person in this whole story now renders himself incapable of achieving the purushartha. Achieving the purushartha. What is purushartha here? Moksha. He becomes, now he does not. And this is the prachuti, this is the fall. And then let there be fall. So what? Hey Baba, why scare of that? Labhate dukkha santatim. And then after he is subject to what? Misery after misery, misery after misery. Only thing that will be there, sometimes less misery and sometimes more misery. But misery will continue. This continuation of misery is not because God is angry at you. This continuation of misery is not because God is trying to test you. What? You are a guinea pig in God's laboratory that He wants to test you? Why should God want to test you? And even if God wanted to test my faith and my commitment, why put me in misery just because you want to satisfy your curiosity? Yeah? So all this kind of theologies and which are developed on our little consolation, they have their own drawbacks. They may sound good for a little while, but when you really sit and verify and try to analyze, you will find that they are quick to collapse. Like the castle of cards. There, we are not going to. Dukkha santatim labhate, dukkha santatim. One dukkha after another is sequentially labhate. And this is the reason why once when the Shokasura takes over, the person will give up swadharma, resort to something that he should not do. Because something may be good for you, but does not mean that it is good for me. What is good for me? What I need to do. What is my duty? Oh, but I like what he does now. Hey, that is good for him. Oh, but then I think I will change. That fellow, my neighbor's children are more cute, than my children. That's why I will try and look after them. These people, my children, seeing how they are all skinny and all that. These nice chubby babies. So I will only look after them. Hey, you better look after these children because that is your duty. But instead of that, keeps up and starts chasing somebody. It is as funny as that, as ridiculous as that. So, swadharma vidhamshaha pratishiddhasya sevanam. And when that happens, purusharthat prachutihi, and then labhate dukkha santatim. That is there. Dukkham swabha. So what, even if I get misery, I like misery. Nobody says that. Nobody says I like misery. Oh no, we have heard stories of Kunti. She said, give me dukkham. And she is not saying give me dukkham. She is saying that wherever there is dukkham, wherever there has been calamity in my life, Shri Krishna, you have arrived. And because I love you, even if calamities come, so she's not asking for calamity, she's asking for Shri Krishna. Don't be silly. She's asking for Paramananda. Devaki Paramanandam. She's asking for that, not for some calamities. Dukkham swabhavato dveshyam. This dukkham is disliked naturally by any living being, even if it is a mosquito. Dukkham swabhavato dveshyam. Sarvesham praninam iha. For all the living beings. Atastat sadhanam tyajam. And therefore that which will bring dukkham, not just dukkham, it brings dukkha santati. Waiting in line, one after another, one after another, one after another. This is not finished. The other thing already is there in the lab. No, tyajam, therefore that sadhana, that which will bring this dukkham should be given up. What brings dukkham there? The original shoka. What has caused this shoka? Ajnanam, ignorance. That is why it should be given up. Atastat sadhanam tyajam shokamohadikam sada dustyajam shokamohadi. But sir, how difficult it is to give it up. if I'm not miserable, what will I talk about to other people? That is how I keep winning sympathy. What will I talk? Otherwise, no subject matter only, na? So why your life is what only an entertainment to others or what? Dukkha, dustyajam, shoka mohadi. The shoka moha is difficult to give up, sir. How to give? Kenopayena hiyatam. By what upaya can you overcome it? Evam akanshaya vishtam purusharthonmukham naram. Now, when a person has this inquiry, as with what will I give up this shokamoha? How will I overcome this shokamoha, which is preventing me from doing the nishkama karma anusthana, which is the very path to liberation, to knowledge. What? How will I give it up? So this, because I want to attain moksha in this very life now. Such a person who is purushartha unmukha. Unmukha means facing towards purushartha, towards moksha now. Tam naram prati. To such a person, what? Bhagavan atra ubodhayeshvahedam Bhagavan shastramuttamam. To such a person, Naram Prati, because Arjuna is also called as Nara. Bhagavan is desirous of giving this knowledge. And because Bhagavan wants to give up, make him enlightened, now Bhagavan has sung this song called as Bhagavad Gita. There we go. Oh, I have just gone beyond time too much. Oh. All right, this is how it is. So this is the whole map, is the entire picture. Let's meet next to discuss further. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnaha Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanta Shanta Shanti. Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashikado Vande Bhagavanto Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyoma Vadvyapti Dehaya Dakshina Murtaye Namaha. Thank you all.
Oh.